Eliana, I'm so disgusted by these rabid anti-Semites. This is not anywhere near the same as someone saying, I think Israel's gone too far. Too many people have died. I don't like the disproportionate response. In my view, that's a legitimate debate we can and should be having. This is something else entirely.
These protesters are calling for the elimination of the Jewish state and for the death of Jews on campus. And you have, as you mentioned, campus rabbis saying that Jews on campus are not safe. And there was a follow-up. I'm not actually totally clear if it was from the same rabbi or a different rabbi, saying that Columbia is now offering armed escorts to students who remain on campus. It's not that easy if you live across the country to just jet out of Columbia. Passover begins today. They're offering armed escorts to students to get to and from their seders. So that is what it takes for Jewish students on campus to go about their daily lives. And these students have shut down the school. They can't have classes in person. And it's interesting, we heard President Shafiq last Wednesday testify before the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, saying, I really don't think these people are mostly driven by hate. These are legitimate political disagreements, and it's just a small minority of the students. And I think we're seeing the protesters give live to that. These are hate-filled chants, and whether it's a small number of them or not, they are showing their ability to exert control over the campus. The solution, I think, has come to is it's time for expulsion, removal and expulsion of the students so that the school can function.
100%. Kick them out. Get out. Get all the way out. If you're not from here, go back home to your whatever country, your Jew-hating country, which is probably how you learned it. I mean, it's amazing to me that they want all the benefits of being at an American university. Some of them aren't even from here. They just want to come over here, bash our country, bash a bunch of Jews, hold up signs encouraging people to kill Americans on campus, and then, okay, on their merry way. And some of those are Americans too, which is even more disgusting. They're like a cult, Emily, because we cut this one video just to show what's wrong with these people. Like what's happening here? Listen to them mindlessly follow this man in the chanting, like they're, it's like church. It's like church where you chant. There you pray to God. Here you're praying to some loser student representative who apparently has zero tolerance for Jewish people. Watch this.
So that we can.
Or maybe it's a woman.
Start to push them out of the camp. One step forward. Another step forward. We ask
they're taking the steps.
That you please respect our privacy and our community guidelines, which you have so far disrespected, and leave our camp. One step forward.
Oh my God. They all have their little beanies and their masks outside way post COVID. Emily, you tell me, why is that? Why are they masking outside?
No, it's a great question. I mean, protesters at least used to have some style. I'm curious, they said this is like the Encampment University of Palestine at Columbia. I feel like they probably can't do their like queer study classes if it's their Palestine University at Columbia. That might make it a little bit more complicated. Yeah, it raises so many questions, but I think it's important to support free speech when it's hard, precisely because we are now seeing fully on display how absurd their claims to not be, I'm not saying all of these protesters are anti-Semitic, but clearly some very vocal leaders of these protests are anti-Semitic. So on the one hand, I think it's important to support free speech when it's hard. I think it's also reasonable for schools to have narrow codes of conduct that determine, we're here and we respect inquiry at these temples of inquiry, American universities, but we do it for the sake of the good. We do it for the sake of learning. We do it for the sake of enlightenment. And so, when you're crossing those very obvious boundaries, camping outdoors, civil disobedience that's crossing into obvious violations, like saying Al-Qassam's next target and pointing towards a Jewish student at Yale, they're playing music that says Israel's going to die. That kind of stuff it's not just the obvious hypocrisy that people like Bill Ackman picked up on after October 7th with Claudine Gay and the other university presidents, is also just in some cases so very clearly crossing the line to not being good faith criticism of Israel and being like blatantly anti-Semitic. And there's just been so far, repercussions that totally are disproportionate to how the left would react if there were, violations of student conduct from the right, if there were actual legitimate hate speech coming from the right. I mean, I've watched these universities for years say that you can't host a lecture by a conservative speaker because of the security concerns. But you can just camp outside and say Al-Qassam's next target and play music that says Israel's going to die. Come on.
And then some Jewish student is going to have to go into class and sit next to that lunatic. I mean, it really is one of those things with thought experiment. Like, imagine if this were a bunch of anti-Black protesters out there with a sign in front of the few Black people who nerved the angry mob to come out with, American flags. And then one of these white supremacists goes over and stands in front of them with a sign that reads, "The KKK's next targets." Imagine what would happen. They would not be keeping the police off campus. They would not be letting the students go back to their dorms and eventually resume classes and sit next to the Black students. They would be expelled like that, because there are behavioral codes on college campuses that include anti-bullying and anti-harassment. And that's because there are federal civil rights laws that ensure that these students should not be subjected to that while they're on campus. And we're not talking about snowflakes, hurt feelings after some mild comment. They're threatening and calling for the death of the Jews. It's a problem. As we approach another critical election, many Americans are concerned. Recent studies reveal that an astonishing 56% of citizens report feelings of anxiety or dread about the upcoming election. But I want to tell you about AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. AMAC is more than a senior organization. During these challenging times, they fight for common sense and for the U.S. to return to traditional American values. Visit amac.us/Megyn today to get an exclusive election year special, a 4-year AMAC membership for just $30. As an AMAC member, you not only enjoy money-saving benefits, but also the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare advice, a trusted voice in Washington, and a community of like-minded patriots. Take advantage of this election year special, 4 years for just $30, and be part of the solution. Join now at amac.us/Megyn. That's amac.us/Megyn. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.